everyone, Miss Turdick here, and this afternoon we're going to play a game of soccer baseball for two or more. So before you get started, you want to make sure that you've got a trusted adult to supervise, and your trusted adult might even want to join you in playing. You want to wear comfortable clothes, and you definitely want to be in running shoes for this. You can choose to play in your backyard, or once the city of Brantford decides to open up community parks, you could take the supplies that you need to a community park and play in the nice big open area there. I wouldn't recommend playing this in a front yard just because of the traffic on the street. So what you need are objects that you can use to mark a pitcher's mound, and so in that case I've chosen a frisbee. You're also going to need objects that you can use to mark a first base and a home plate. So for those two things, I've chosen tea towels. For first base and home plate, you want to choose objects that are flat to the ground, since you and the other player will be needing to step on them. You don't want to have anything that sticks up so that somebody could trip and fall. So let's get things set up. So to position your pitcher's mound, you want to make sure that it's far enough away from your home plate so that there's enough space for the pitch to be made. So I'm going to position my pitcher's mound about right here. I'm going to position my home plate across from the pitcher's mound. And then I'm going to take my first base and put it a few meters away from home plate. So it will go in this spot. Now you can use a soccer ball to play if you have a soccer ball, and if you don't have a soccer ball, simply choosing some other type of ball that's big enough to be kicked would work just fine. You also have to be mindful of the space that you're in. So my backyard is definitely not big, so a rule that I'm going to establish ahead of time with my helper is going to be that we're not going to kick the ball over the fence, because if we do that, then that opens up a whole other issue where you do have to go and knock on the neighbor's door to ask for permission to get the ball back. So we're going to make sure that we're staying within the confines of the backyard. If you are playing in a public park, once those reopen, then that won't become such an issue. So how this game is going to work. I'm going to choose to play defense first, so that means that I'm going to be the person pitching. My helper is going to be playing on offense. So just like what we do at school when we play soccer baseball, I will roll the ball to my opponent, and he's going to try his best to make contact with the ball and to kick it. Because we're in such a small spot, we don't have specific foul area, and so wherever he kicks it is fair game. If the ball happens to hit against the fence, it's fair game as well. Okay, and as the defensive player, I'll be making sure that I grab that ball as quickly as possible. Now my offensive player, what he has to do is, as soon as he kicks the ball, he has to run as fast as he can from home plate area, touch first base, and he has to try to get back to home plate and touch home plate. When he does that, he scores a run for himself, and then I pitch to him again. My job, though, is to try to get this ball as quickly as I can and either touch first base before he does, tag him while he's running to first base, tag him while he's running to home plate, or touch home plate before he does when he's on his way back to home plate. Now you have to be mindful that you don't collide with each other. So again, that just comes down to having respect for the person that you're playing with. You're not out to injure anybody. So the other thing that you do have to remember, and this is different from school, is that there is no second base and there is no third base. So the only spot you're running to is from home down to first base. Okay, so the person who is on offense is basically just staying in an area that's a few meters big. So if you are playing by yourself as the offensive player, you're not going to get as tired as you would if you were running around an entire diamond. Now, if you're playing with more players, let's just say, for example, there are 3 siblings playing. So I would choose to have maybe this other sibling on my team as a defensive player. While I'm pitching, my sibling can be somebody in the field to retrieve the ball. We can work together to try to get the offensive player out. If the other sibling chooses to play on the offensive side to start, then the two offensive players can simply take turns kicking the ball and running to and from first base to home plate. The other thing to keep in mind, just like when we play at school, it's a game of basically 3 pitch. So you have 3 pitches to make contact. If you don't make contact by the time the 3rd pitch comes around, then you're going to be out and the players will trade spots. As soon as the offensive player is out, either by failing to make contact with the ball or by being forced out at first, home, or being tagged along the way, the players trade positions, okay? Also, if the offensive player gets on a real roll, 5 runs is the maximum that they can score per inning, kind of like a mercy idea, because you don't want it to be unfair for one player. And it doesn't make the game too enjoyable if there's one person scoring upwards of 5 runs at a time and the other player doesn't feel like they have a chance of catching up. So enact that mercy rule and it will make the game a little bit more enjoyable. The thing to remember too when you're establishing your teams is think about who's playing, think about their ages, think about their abilities, and make sure that the teams are fair. So let's get started, and I'm going to go to the pitcher's mound here. And I'm going to ask my helper to stand beside home plate, okay? And remember, we did soccer back in the fall at school, so we're using the inside of our foot to make contact with the ball. So this is the area that we're kicking from. We're not doing a toe hack. We're not using our toes to kick the ball. That can get painful. So you're using the inside of your foot. The other thing too that I do need to remind you of is if the ball is kicked in the air and the defensive player, the pitcher, or if there's somebody playing in the field as a retriever, catches the ball before it hits the ground or an object in the backyard such as the fence, then that person who kicked the ball is out. And then the players swap positions, so the offensive player becomes the pitcher and then the defensive player becomes the kicker. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to make my pitch, and again, to pitch, it's just like bowling, and we had some practice with bottle bowling. Okay, so again, to do that, hold the ball in both hands because the ball is a little big, and you're going to place your dominant foot forward, so that's the foot on the same side as the hand that you print with, so my right foot's going forward first. I'm going to bend my knees and aim towards my player who's kicking. Okay, so he scored a run, okay? So that would be 1-0 for my offensive player. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, that was close. Okay, so we scored 2 runs. So had I been able to catch that, he wouldn't have been out because that ball did make contact with the fence before I had a chance to catch it. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, 3-0 for him. So he's been tagged, okay, he's out. So now at this point in the game, we would switch. He would now become the pitcher. I would go on offense. So that's soccer baseball for 2 or more. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's every bit as fun as soccer baseball at school. Take care and enjoy.